We are back at it. Had to make a little bit of an excursion. So, episode 6. We are moving on to Ouija the Dusk Noir. Ouija is from the Season 3 Larvesta Division champion Tangled Tangelas, the only team in HDA history to have a completely undefeated season. And yeah, that coach, he just came in, won, and hasn't done anything in the league since. It's kind of ridiculous, all things considered. So yeah, Ouija the Dusk Noir. Magic Bounce with Spike, Recover, U-Turn, V-Create. You look at this stat line, and it's decently tanky. It's not necessarily as strong as some of the other all-stars that are here. The attack stat might be higher, but wait, actually, no, this, okay, tied with Musashi, but Musashi boosts it with Intrepid Sword. So yeah, currently, of the 6 All-Stars we have gone over so far, Ouija's has the lowest immediate attacking power. However, if it has the lowest immediate attacking power, then we can leverage some of its other stats. Granted, it'll actually invest in this stat, because Remedy won't. Alrighty, so yeah. These defenses are amazing. With Magic Bounce, means you're immune to toxics, you've got Recovery. Perfect for a tank set. Tanky Ouija typically does stuff like that, with HP and attack investment and Adamant Nature. And then really, with Tank Ouija, you can do whatever the hell you want. Because his physical move pool... Ouija's physical move pool is actually quite massive. Like Top Sauna Priority Option, Shadow Sneaker Sucker Punch, take your coverage moves with Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, don't run Fire Punch, just run V-Create, Earthquake, Brick Break. You've got plenty of things in this guy's move pool. Additionally, Ouija's hack attacks are U-Turn V-Create, as previously mentioned, so you can toss those on if you want to throw them on your tank Ouija. The main thing that Ouija does is it completely shits on a lot of hazard setters. If we check other Magic Bounce Pokemon, you've got Espeon, which sits on basically none of them, Hatterene, which sits on a few, Xatu, who sits on some, Flying typing versus Fairy typing. It's more of Recovery and Teleport versus, sheer bulk on this side. But then you look at Ouija, and the bulk is considerably improved upon 57, 95, 103, because, yeah, you're tanking the HP by 12, but it's also pumping the defenses to 135, which gets kind of ridiculous. You're attacking with Poltergeist rather than something like a Dazzling Gleam or a Psychic, or in Xatu's case, at all. You're attacking at all. And the Magic Bounce Megas don't really use Magic Bounce as much, considering they can't just do it on switching. So with Tank Ouija, not only are you healing, dishing out Poltergeist, then shitting on hazard setters, because if we look at Stealth Rockers, like Bisharp doesn't run them, all these bulkier rocking Pokemon can't have some trouble breaking through Ouija defenses, and you've got stuff like Landorus T, Heatran, Garchomp, all quad weak to coverage, Mew, fucked, Tyranitar, slap a Colburberry on your Ouija, and the T-Tar's fucked, Terrakion, fucked, skip the Ubers, but Landorus Incarnate, since the HDA allows Sandforce Land OI, then yeah, that can get pretty messed up. Azoff, no. Chansey, absolutely not. Drill, that's you spin block it as well while throwing spikes up in its face. Like, the best hazard setters that beat Ouija while setting hazards and actually setting hazards are stuff like Crocodile, Alolan Marowak. Like, that's getting pretty specific, all things considered. And then you think about that Ouija learns Wisp. So you can say, okay, fuck attacking stats. I really just want to sit on all the hazard setters in the universe. Just do this. Just invest in a ton of bulk, dependent on what the obligatory hazard Pokemon of the opposing team is. You can go special defense or physical defense, however you need. I forgot to change Magic Bounce here. So yeah, you can just heal off their hits, burn them, lay spikes in their face, because it's not like they're taunting you, and it's not like they're spinning against you. That's another really big part of this. Ouija is all at the same time hazard prevention, hazard removal prevention, and a hazard setter. Ouija completely dominates the hazard game of whatever team it's on, because the opponent always has to respect its existence, its tankiness, and just this raw stat line. Speaking of things the opponent has to respect with Ouija, sometimes you gotta respect its power. Aw, yeah. Choice band Ouija. You've got V-Create shenanigans off the hack set. That's actually stronger than Stab Poltergeist against purely neutral targets. So you get stuff like Chandelure Stabs up in here. Granted, the attacking stat's lower, but you're physical and you're not Stealth Rock weak. You've got Priority and Shadow Sneak. U-turn if you want it. My personal preference is Focus Punch to really stick it to normals. Especially stuff like Miltank, because Miltank can shit on this set. However, Miltank also doesn't beat the tanks. Miltank doesn't beat getting spiked on and burned and healed off. Like, all it does is, like, body slam paras, because Scrappy, but it's not going to run Scrappy against Ouija. It's going to run Thick Fat, because it doesn't want to get V-created into death. So yeah, Ouija is overall an amazing hazard game Pokemon. What are the problems? Well, outside of the Choice Band variant, most of the mainline Ouija sets are pretty restrictive to exclusively the hazard game. And while it does the hazard game extremely well, we went over the rockers earlier, but what about spikers? Like Ferrothorn, dead. Mew, okay, geisted. Diggersby is really the biggest defender. Skarmory can do absolutely jack against Ouija, because, yeah. Night Slash? You're seriously going to run Night Slash on your Skarmory? Yeah, it doesn't work. Ouija completely sits on Skarm, reflects all its hazards back. Yeah, your Defog does things, and your Roost does things, but you're getting burned, so you're not going to have Sturdy for the whole rest of the game. You can't body press Ouija. It gets ridiculous. Alrighty, so yeah, back on the hazard side of things. Spikers, yeah, Ouija just dominates a lot of these spikers. However, outside of the hazard game, you can start to realize a couple of things. Number one, while Ouija's defenses are really enormous, its HP stat leaves a remarkable amount to be desired. Like a lot. Granted, it means your wishes are going to heal it up for a massive chunk of damage if you're into that sort of thing. But it also means that chipping Ouija down with just hitting it isn't too hard. Because what Ouija wants to do is it wants to take advantage of utility Pokemon while providing its own team utility and threatening switch-ins with spikes, U-turns, Will-O-Wisps. I've talked a lot of how important Will-O-Wisp is, but it really is extremely important because it not only helps your team, but it also bolsters Ouija's ability to take on its own switch-ins and the things that stay in on it. So it supports the team not only itself, but also its teammates by granting it effectively more survivability and a little bit of extra chip damage on top of the spikes it lays. In the purely like HO matchups though, for the hyper-offensive things that aren't exactly going to set as many hazards, Ouija kind of gets shit out of luck. Because if you're not running Choice Band Ouija, your opponent won't have that hard of a time taking Ouija's hits. Because for 100 attack, Poltergeists, and V-Creates, most things can take one. Okay, I shouldn't be sorting by defense in this aspect. But stuff like, okay, Toxapex. Does Toxapex... Man, like... Yeah, and for a lot of these utility Pokemon, you get stuff like your item gets removed, or you can get poisoned by attacks. It's just, yeah. Oh yeah, fun fact. If you if you're counter teaming a Ouija team, because Ouija is so good at shutting down stealth rockers that it can often be paired with a lot of stealth rock weak teammates, because Ouija just beats the rockers so handily, so the rocks will never go up on your side of the field. Best way, if you want to counter team this, pick up Pincer. Just pick up Pincer, Mold Breaker, Stealth Rock. I'm pretty sure there are also other Mold Breaker Pokemon that get hazards, so like Mold Breaker Drill. Okay, actually, it doesn't sit on Drill as much as I was expecting. Mold Breaker Druddigon. So yeah, Excadrill, Druddigon, and Pincer are like the guys you gotta look out for the only real things that can set up rocks in your face staring you down. Granted, those are all physical attackers, so you can burn them. And in Druddigon's case, you can just creep to it, go first. Druddigon also Dragon Tails you. Okay, I'm getting off on a tangent. So yeah, Ouija shits on hazard setters. Sets its own hazards in their face. You have natural access to taunt. Flex that on everybody. Trick Room could be useful as well, because you can't taunt Ouija. Utilize its recovery, utilize its spikes, potential pivots if you're like that. Will-O-Wisp is incredibly powerful. Honestly, you could just run this set, probably with some EVs switched around, these 4 moves, in a decent number of games. And this serves as a phenomenal hazard support Pokemon for any team, really. I've been gushing about Ouija. It's almost like Ouija's good. It's almost like you should draft it. And, you know, if you're fighting it, it's almost like you should try to pursue it.